For example, flood is dealt by a department, Ministry of Home Affairs. Cities are being dealt by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, predominantly a state subject. And the issue of climate is dealt by forest and climate change. So it requires a kind of whole of government approach rather than, we're looking at the way we are, trained to look at one city, one approach, or one particular discipline. So this is what the paper that I wanted to share with you, that what would be the kind of spatial planning response to these challenges that we are facing in our cities in terms of flood, urban heat island. But this paper particularly, I wanted to share the challenges of flood. I think this image sounds familiar to some of you. Yes, all DDA guys are saying yes. I can see all the. So this was last year, just after a conference in Delhi Vigyan Bhavan, and that's the same day, next second day. Now, what is happening here, because this was also in my colleague in the morning, Jignesh was also talking about that what happens when urbanization happens in physical form. Two things happen. The core area gets denser and peripheral areas are getting expanded. And these WRI, World Resource Institutes, they have this monitor, they have been monitoring through geospatial and showing what has been the changes, peripheral expansion in large urban cities, metropolitan cities. And trust me, this has been a range of 20 to 30 square kilometer, except for Mumbai, because Mumbai is bound by, now what happens, I would like to, this is like because I being a teacher want to show something, I want to draw this attention on this last side corner. This was when there was a natural ground cover. This was the hydrological behavior. Then that is bungalow of Anupji, Anup Srivastavaji. He just took a bungalow there, outskirt on the city. There is a slight change in the hydrological behavior because earlier what was going, then this is the situation where we are now. The hotel is located. You are seeing a lot of buildings coming in. There are a lot of changes that are taking place. And the last one, probably, which when you enter into many of our downtown areas. So two, three things are happening. One is that because of spatial expansion, there are changes in the impervious layer, increase in the impervious layer. As our chairman just also talked about, that there is a lot of cloudburst events, rainfall. Generally in planning, we say average rainfall. But when you're dealing with flood, we always deal with the intensity of rainfall. And there are places in many eastern cities, particularly I see sir is here from Odisha. Odisha last 6 months had saw 12 inches, 17 inches rainfall in 24 hours. So traditionally in engineering, traditionally in urban planning, we are trained to that whenever there is a rainfall, put a concrete drain, throw the water out. But these are changing. One is your surface runoff coefficient is changing, your rainfall pattern is changing, and there we need to look at, this was a very classical hydrology that we teach our students in our school in engineering or planning, that there will be rainfall, then the water will go to the river will go. This is completely getting distorted. And as a result, we are into it, this is where our HLC chairman, this is just in front of his house. The photo was taken in Gurgaon. And as you know, so this is, we are increasingly looking at this level of hazards frequently coming to our cities. Now, my point here is not to scare you. I mean, it's not like, I'm not in the science of what Professor Kundu was talking about, science of anxiety. My point here that it is to show you that we need to act with the available knowledge without getting anxious, and without making it like a doomsday prediction that world will collapse and there is urgency to. In the science term, we generally talk about the types of flooding, what happens in a city. One is that when there is a rainfall happening within the city and your city getting flooded. There are many cities in India, for example, Surat. If it rains in Maharashtra, Surat can get flooded.